Hello, my beautiful angels, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to this series, Art I Consumed. Today, we are going to be doing Art I Consumed in October and November. I am combining those 2 months because I didn't do much in October. I read one book and watched one film. It was a very, very busy month for me. Lots going on. Yes, we have a new microphone situation going on here, you guys. I just know it sounds so much better. I just took the plunge and I upgraded and got a new mic. So cheers. Also, before we jump into today's Art I Consumed, I have a really, really good list for you guys today. Lots of fun things to discuss. I wanted to take a moment to thank you all for your beautiful prayers and your beautiful well wishes for my mom. If you did not know, my mom was hospitalized last month. I had to fly to Florida to see her. She was in critical condition. She almost lost her life. It was pretty crazy and really scary and really traumatizing. I'm gonna go ahead and put a prayer up on the screen that my friend Michaela custom made and tailored to my mom and her condition specifically. If you feel so inclined to pray for my mom's recovery and to just pray for her well-being overall, or do spell work or anything like that, please feel free to use this prayer. I think she would greatly appreciate it and I would greatly appreciate it, and I just wanted to cover that before we quickly dive into the art list. Everything is fine, don't worry about it. We have much to cover today, so I'm gonna go ahead and dive right into the books. What books did I read in the months of October and November? I read one book in October and one book in November. I'm a bit of a slow reader. I just enjoy taking my time. I like to really digest what I'm reading at a slower pace. So first book that I want to discuss with you guys today was a doozy. It was fantastic and I loved it so much, and that is The Dangers of Smoking in Bed by Mariana Enriquez. This is Latin American literature. This is a collection of short stories. This was the perfect read for my October, for my little mini spooky season moment, because this was downright spooky. This is extremely dark, an extremely dark collection of short stories. I would say evil in itself is a character here, and every single story in this book has Argentina as its backdrop, as its landscape where the story takes place, which I thought was super interesting just because I don't read many stories that take place in Argentina. Each short story was better than the last. I can't even pick a favorite. I mean, they were all really depressing and dark. I would say that this collection of short stories has an underlying theme of filth. It's like the kind of darkness that is kind of gross and filthy and messy and haunting, and it really shows the dark side of humanity overall, of situations, of ghosts, of places. It is really, really interesting. This also covers different mental illness struggles, how that is passed down through your family. This covers generational trauma, all of the gritty dark sides of life, the underbelly of life. Really, really sinister. I guess if I could describe this collection in one word, it would be sinister. A lot of the times with the literature that I choose, I like to choose things that I know are going to force me to view certain things from a different perspective, and fatality and grimness and filth is a really good way to get people to think. Death plays a really prevalent role in this as well. So if you're into dark literature, if you're into Latin American literature, you might have already read this, but I highly recommend The Dangers of Smoking in Bed. This was a really good choice for my October. The next and final book that I read in November, this is Enchantress from the Stars by Sylvia Louise Engdahl. This has a Newbery Honor Prize. I thrifted this book, and what got me was the back blurb here was another author comparing it to Lord of the Rings, which I wouldn't say this is like Lord of the Rings other than the fact that it's fantasy. So what's really interesting about this is technically a YA book, but this is a YA book from the early 70s. I was flipping through this in the shop, and every page that I looked at just had the most gorgeous stargazing type of language. A 70s YA novel compared to a modern day one this is not watered down. I feel like I mean, it's been a really long time since I've read anything YA. Did I mention what this is about? I don't think I did. This is sci-fi fantasy. This is about 3 different species, or 3 different types of human races coming together as one and interacting with one another on one planet called Andrecia. And it is about these kind of fairy-like, alien-like beings that do mimic humans quite a bit, but they go to Andrecia, this planet, to save it from colonization. There is an empire that landed on that planet that is actively trying to colonize it and wipe out the natives, kind of what we have dealt with in our real world of colonization and the dark side of progression of technology, of tyrannical governments, things like that. There is a love story in this, but the love story definitely takes a back seat. Like, it's not the driving force for this story at all. It's really interesting. If you're into fantasy at all, or if you're into sci-fi, I think you would be really into this. And it also has a strong spiritual undertone. It's really fascinating. I really enjoyed this. It was a really fun read. So I have my book of notes here, all of the notes that I take on the art that I consume. So moving on from the books and diving right into the films. What TV shows did I consume in the months of October and November? I'm actually really disappointed that I did not watch more like spooky films or horror films in the month of October. October was a doozy. Let's be honest, this whole year has been a doozy. The one and only film that I watched in October was a film from the 80s, specifically from 1984. This is called The Company of Wolves. This was on my list for a long time, and I just decided to watch it because I was in the mood for a fairy tale, a dark fairy tale, and this is kind of a loose retelling of Red Riding Hood. It's a bit of an anthology though, like it covers these wolf monsters throughout the entire movie, but different scenarios that these wolf monsters end up with these humans, these people who inhabit this fairy tale village. It mainly follows our main character, a young girl who I can't remember the name of right now, as she navigates this dark forest, this village she lives in, her relationship with her parents, and how this wolf kind of follows her throughout her life and throughout her girlhood. And this is one of those films that's a bit of an analogy for girlhood, for growing up, for young girls interacting with men or the world of men and what that looks like. My favorite thing about this movie was absolutely 100% the cinematography. The vibe that they curated for this was immaculate. I would say some of it is a little bit of a snooze fest, gets a little boring and drags a little bit at times. I think you could have cut like 20 minutes of this movie out. But if you love interesting costumes and a beautiful setting and gorgeous camera work, then you will really enjoy this, especially if you love fairy tales, if you love the type of cinematography that is very whimsical and from a bygone era, like the 80s or 70s. It just hits different. Like, I feel like if this movie was made today, it just wouldn't have the same charm that it has because of the era that it was made in. So, all right, the next film that I watched in the beginning of November, and everyone and their mother has watched this, I assume, but I'm talking about the new recreation and retelling of Frankenstein, the Netflix original. It went straight to Netflix. I think it was in some movie theaters, but this is by Guillermo del Toro. We love Guillermo del Toro. I love most of his films. There aren't any films of his that I think are badly done, but I definitely have favorites over others, Crimson Peak being my all-time favorite, or Pan's Labyrinth. And this was no disappointment. I wouldn't call it a disappointment, but I know that the book Puritans probably won't love this as much as other people. I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd only because there were some parts that dragged quite a bit. I felt like it was way too long. Bring back movies that are only 2 hours long. If we're going over the 2-hour mark, it's too long. I'm sorry. But the standout parts of this film was 100% the cinematography, the costuming, the storytelling of the costuming. I believe they hired the same costume designer that did Crimson Peak, and you can tell because the costumes are such an intrinsic part of the story. Jacob Elordi as the monster was great. I thought he did a great job as the monster. Am I the biggest Jacob Elordi fan? Not really. There's something really sinister about his vibe, and I don't know if Euphoria just like poisoned my brain. And like in my brain, like he's just Nate Jacobs, and like I'm like low-key scared of him. Like I feel like if I were in a room with Jacob Elordi, I would be kind of like terrified. Of what, you ask? I don't know, but I would be scared. I would be intimidated. But him as the monster, he portrayed innocence and purity so well that I forgot that I was afraid of Jacob Elordi. Jacob Elordi is what I see in like the corner of my room when I'm having sleep paralysis. The acting was overall incredible. I loved Mia Goth in this. I think she is a fantastic actress. I love everything she's ever done, so I really enjoyed her as Elizabeth in this film. Do I think this is as good as the novel? No. Do I think any film adaptation could live up to the novel? I don't know. Maybe if we have a female director. No shade to Guillermo del Toro. He does an amazing job with stories like this, and I think he did an amazing job, but he definitely tweaked some parts of the story that do not match up with the book. So if you're in this for a book Puritan reasons, you're gonna be disappointed. It is Hollywood at the end of the day, so they're gonna add some action-packed things, a little more romance and things like that to make it entertaining to the average viewer of someone that is not like a Frankenstein fanatic. Overall, I enjoyed it. Do I think it's a perfect film? No. Do I think the wolf scene could have been cut out? Yeah. Do I think Jacob Elordi was great as the monster? Yes. Next film I watched was a really, really random film. This was one that was on my list only because of Christina Ricci. I'm talking about Prozac Nation. I feel like there was once a time where I would have loved this. I think if I had watched this for the first time, maybe like 10 years ago, I would have been like, this is the greatest film. I feel so seen, etc., etc. As a teenage, depressed white woman, you know, I probably would have really identified with this. But I actually really didn't like this film. I know this is kind of a cult classic. A lot of people really like this. I was not a fan. I thought a lot of the dialogue was super corny, and I don't think that's the actor's fault. I mean, we have Christina Ricci, we have Jessica Lange, who are both incredible actresses. I think it's a fault of the writing. It's not them. Like, yeah, we're talking about depression, we're talking about mental health and all of these things, but I don't care. That's the problem. I don't care what happens to the characters because I don't care about them. It was a little bit one-dimensional and dry and bad writing. So, I don't really recommend it. Really, really unlikable characters. You have to have some kind of saving grace. And I understand complex characters. Oh, y'all want complex characters, but you couldn't even handle Christina Ricci in Prozac Nation. It's not about complexity. I actually didn't find her to be very complex at all. I found her to be really annoying and simplified and it's not something that's gonna stick with me. Okay, next film that I watched this on the airplane back home after visiting my mom in the hospital in Florida, and I wanted something that was gonna make me smile, something that was gonna make me maybe chuckle, and I was scrolling through the movies and I saw Moonstruck with Cher and with Nicolas Cage, and I have heard great things about this film. I just never gotten around to watching it, so I put it on the plane, and I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a fantastic film. It took a little too long to become interesting. I think the first like 30 minutes of the film drag, but then once you're into it, you're into it, and it's really super fun. This in 2 words, Italians and infidelity. Basically, the plot of this is an Italian family living in Brooklyn and their various love lives and how they are superstitious about the moon's role in their lives. But also Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage in this, he is such an interesting character because he's so off-putting. And I don't know if it's the character or Nicolas Cage, but I low-key loved it. Like, I loved how horrible of a personality he had and how so very weird and strange and awkward his interactions were and his romance was with Cher, but it made it really believable for some reason. I don't know. Nicolas Cage, what do you mean? I can't describe it. You just gotta watch it, and then you'll understand how on God's green earth Cher with the most insane amount of aura that woman has, no matter what film she's in. She's always slapping some man in the face in her films and telling them to get it together, and I really appreciate that. Okay, and finally, the final film that I watched in the month of November. This was a recommendation from my boyfriend, funny enough. This was one of those movies he said he watched a lot as a kid. He was like flabbergasted that I had never seen it. This is Death Becomes Her. This is from 1992, and it has Meryl Streep and Kate Hudson's mom, what's her name? Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis. Star-studded cast. This is like The Substance, if you've ever seen The Substance, but not scary, a lot more fun and kitschy and camp. This is camp. Okay, but it's also like The Substance. One could argue that this is like anti-feminist because these two beautiful women are tweaking and geeking over a man, and you know, they don't want to age, and they take this potion so that they don't have to age, and they are immortal and can never die, and all these things. And excellent costuming. Every frame in this, it just kind of reminded me of Tim Burton, but with Meryl Streep. Okay, I love Meryl Streep, one of my favorite actresses, and in this film, she does not disappoint. She is so good in this film. She's hilarious and relatable, and I just loved her character in this so much. Highly recommend. All right, now moving on to the TV shows here that I talk about in the film section of this series. First, I want to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer again. So in October, I watched seasons 2 and 3, rewatched. I've already seen Buffy before, but it's been years and years and years since I've watched Buffy. And I believe in my last art I consumed, I clarified that I had watched season 1, so I went ahead and kept watching through seasons 2 and 3. Season 3 of Buffy is one of my favorite seasons of television probably ever. The further on you get into Buffy, the darker and more serious it becomes, and I love that. Also, season 6 of Buffy is my other favorite season. So I'm gonna keep watching. I'm gonna keep doing my rewatch. This is one of those TV shows that I actually love the main character. Like, the main character is my favorite character. Also, we meet Spike. Love Spike is one of my favorite characters. That's why I love season 6. That's why I love season 6 so much. And yes, I like Spike more than I like Angel. And I will die on that hill. Maybe you agree with me, but I just feel like Angel is really bland sometimes. Like, I find him to be boring. I don't know. I just think every time Spike comes on screen, I'm like kicking my feet and giggling. And I'm like, he's so funny. He's so cool. And then Angel comes on screen and I'm just like, he's there. Okay, moving on. Next TV show that I want to talk about. I Love LA. This is Rachel Sennett's brainchild on HBO Max. I have really conflicted feelings about this. So this is a comedy, kind of akin to the TV show Girls, if you've ever seen that. But LA-ified, LA version. Not just LA, but Silver Lake. This is Silver Lake Echo Park-ified. So basically, the reason I wanted to watch this isn't even because I'm necessarily the biggest Rachel Sennett fan, or really no other reason other than the fact that I live in Los Angeles and I know a lot of the funny like stereotypes, especially about transplants, and I just kind of wanted to see Rachel Sennett's take on it. And I enjoy watching this, but not from a place of like, wow, I'm enjoying this so much. Like, this is so funny and so relatable and the characters are great. No, it's not really like that. Like, I enjoy watching it, and I think it's only because I'm a person living in LA, so a lot of the jokes like do land for me. I'm also an influencer and I interact with influencers a lot, and so that's what this is kind of about, like LA influencer lifestyle. And the only qualm with that is that it very quickly becomes very annoying. All of the characters are super unlikable, and that's the only reason I can't say that I love watching this. Me watching this, it's kind of like a hate watch. Not quite a hate watch, but I'm like, God, these characters are so horrible, but I know people in LA like them, and that's why it's entertaining. There hasn't been a moment where I've like really belly laughed or felt like, wow, that's hilarious, amazing writing. It's so. I'm not gonna keep going on and on about I Love LA, because I Love LA sometimes. Next and final thing that I need to discuss in the film section of this video is, but of course, this would not be complete unless I discuss this, Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 1. Me and Caleb watched it. I enjoyed watching it, but I have complicated feelings about Stranger Things, okay? This is my thing about Stranger Things. I will always watch it. I don't care. I don't care about the quality. I don't care how long it takes for the seasons to get made. I will be sat and watching every single time simply because Stranger Things is just one of those cultural things for me personally that will always make me cry. It will always hit close to home. I will always be entertained by it, no matter what. The writing could be a dumpster fire, and I will still watch it and enjoy what I'm watching. But I will say, there's a lot of flaws in Stranger Things Season 5, particularly the dialogue / the acting, some of the plot devices, not a fan of. The Holly plotline, also, if you don't want any spoilers at all, I guess I'll put a little Demogorgon right here. So I can talk about some spoilers, okay? But then when the Demogorgon disappears, you can come back, okay? So basically, the Holly storyline, not a huge fan. Don't really love how they all dismissed her having an imaginary friend as, oh, she's just in her head. Like, y'all literally live in a town that has dealt with monsters for years now, and y'all are just gonna brush right off of that. A lot of the dialogue is really corny, and I think it affects the actors acting because of it. And it's not even the acting as much as it is the dialogue. I think if they were given better dialogue, the acting would be a lot better. A lot of moments in this season give Disney Channel, give Marvel Avengers, in not a good way. Okay, there's only so many quippy lines before I'm like, okay, I'm quipped out. Also, why are you explaining the plot to me over and over and over through the dialogue? Like lines like, we have to stop the monster and we have to save blah blah blah. Like, obviously, bro, you don't need to tell me that. Like, come on, why are we repeating what we're doing over and over in the dialogue? Some of the editing was quite choppy as well, like to a point where I noticed it. Like, Stranger Things has a specific editing style with like quick cuts, but it was to the point where I noticed it this season, which I usually don't notice it, which is also a sign of bad editing. They redeemed Mike as a character. Season 4 and Season 3 Mike, I was really not a fan. I was like, what happened to Mike? He was one of my favorite characters. He's redeeming himself this season, so I will say that. Not a fan with Hopper and Elle fighting, and all the characters are fighting, and there's just a lot. We completely glazed over the end of Season 4. My favorite season of Stranger Things is Season 1. It is the best season of Stranger Things. It is gritty, it is dark, it is a slow burn, and it is beautiful. It is gorgeous. And I fear Stranger Things has just gotten too popular. Therefore, it's been given the Marvel and Disney Channel treatment. But I'm still enjoying myself, so can't really complain. And now we're gonna get into everything that I have listened to for the past 2 months. There's a lot, so we're gonna dive right into it. What is all of the music that I consumed in October and in November? As you guys know, I have been on a Tori Amos kick. Yes, I've been talking about Tori Amos a lot. I got my Spotify Wrapped. I'm sorry, not Spotify. I'm so used to saying that I don't use Spotify. I use Apple Music. I got my Apple Music Wrapped, and my top 5 artists, I'm going to quickly go through that before I talk about the albums. Florence and the Machine was my number 1. She's been my number 1 for the past 3 years. Then it was Ethel Cain. Then it was Autumn's Grey Solace. Then Aurora. Then Tori Amos. So I clocked in a lot of Tori Amos listening. So I'm talking about From the Choir Girl Hotel by Tori Amos. Love. Her earlier albums, all of her albums from the 90s are peak for her. Songwriting, production, the production makes me geek in the best way possible on this record. The song Spark has the most perfect production I've ever heard in my entire life. Every track is a banger. Raspberry Swirl is literally a banger. Like, why aren't we playing that in the club? Why aren't we playing Raspberry Swirl by Tori Amos in the club? Do you know what Raspberry Swirl is about? It's about getting head as a woman. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's no deeper than that. And it slaps. It's hard to pick a favorite, but I think my favorite will always be Little Earthquakes, but this is a really close contender for second place. Please listen to Tori Amos if you haven't yet. I don't know why you keep ignoring me. Please do. I would say sonically. That's what I mean. Sonically, it's a bit darker. We still have her iconic piano playing throughout this record, of course, but we also have some electric guitar and drums added in, which gives it like a rock star feel. It's very fascinating. Highly recommend. Oh, we have so many albums to get through. I'm gonna try to talk a little faster. I'm gonna try to yap a little bit less about all of these albums. So next, I'm going to talk about Look Aftering by Vashti Bunyan. This is folk music, but this record I think came out early 2000s or something. I love Vashti Bunyan. She is my favorite pilgrim. She is my favorite medieval Renaissance queen. All of her music sounds like a toadstool in like the best way possible. I think I prefer her debut album over this one, but this is also a really, really great album. Some of my favorite songs are Here Before and Wayward Hum. Yeah, love Vashti Bunyan. If you like folk music, whimsical, kind of like foresty, fairy folk music, then you will really, really love this record. Next, I want to talk about Skull Crusher. Really been a big fan of Skull Crusher for a few years now. They are a smaller artist, but they came out with a new record and it's called And Your Song Is Like a Circle. Very much akin to like Phoebe Bridgers, kind of slow singer-songwriter, alternative, Adrian Lenker kind of vibe. Not as wordy as Adrian Lenker, not as lyric heavy, but really, really beautiful nonetheless. Very calming record. I really love the song Changes. That one is a bit emotional for me, yeah, but I think I still prefer their other record more than this one, but this is a pretty decent follow-up. Next, I want to talk about Faytooth. They had a new record come out called Labyrinthine. How I discovered this record was I was walking around Amoeba Music and my eyes fell upon this artwork on vinyl, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is gorgeous. That is like a gorgeous piece of art. I wonder what this album sounds like. So I just looked it up, added it to my library, gave it some time. This is a metal record, and I would kind of akin this to like, it's metal, but it's like hard, slow, heavy rock metal. Some of the tracks kind of feel like a repeat of previous tracks. Like they all kind of meld together. That's why it's kind of hard to pick a favorite track here, because all of the tracks sound kind of similar, but it's a really good mood record. If you're in the mood for some beautiful female vocals, some beautiful female-led metal, if you're into that, you will like this. Plus, the album artwork kind of gives it away, but it has a bit of a like grim reaper spiritual death undertone that's really, really fascinating. So you should check that out if you like metal music. Next, I am going to talk about some Celtic folk music, because you guys know that I love Celtic folk music. I'm going to talk about Aussie and the Jupiter. Once again, I've talked about them before on this channel, but I want to talk about their record Stave. I just love them. I love the Appalachian folk. This one feels more Appalachian folk than like Scottish English folk, like some of their other, or like Nordic. They kind of go into different like realms of the earth to pull like folk instrumentation and inspiration from. This one leads more towards like American Appalachian, which I thought was really, really fascinating. There's a lot more singing in this one than in previous records. All the more magical, all the more enchanting. Their instrumental arrangements just never fail to transport me to another world and to really inspire me in my own writing, for example. I listen to them a lot when I write poetry. Okay, next I want to talk about an ambient album. This is an album I've listened to for a long time, but it'd been a while since I had revisited it. I'm gonna butcher the artist's name, Aspidistrafly. their record, A Little Fable. This is an ambient record that I would describe kind of similarly to Vashti Bunyan. Like it feels like a warm hug. It's very comforting. It's very like anti-anxiety medicine. So if you need some anti-anxiety medicine, I don't know, maybe check this record out. What I loved to do with this record, and I did this a lot, especially in the month of November, was to just put it on first thing in the morning, like right when I get out of bed and I wake up and I'm making my cup of tea or coffee for the day and I'm journaling for the morning. This is what I would put on. And it just started my morning off in the most beautiful way every single time. Next, I'm gonna talk about a single actually by an artist that I discovered on TikTok. It's called Moth by Pixie McCann. This came up on my For You page because I think Grimes reposted her or commented on it or something, and it's very much giving Grimes in a way, but it's still unique to this artist, Pixie McCann. It's kind of giving Pixie Hollow. It kind of reminds me also of Pogo. I don't know if there's any resident Pogo listeners in the audience today, but if you know like the Alice EP by Pogo, this kind of reminds me of like that type of electronica. Really gorgeous down the rabbit hole to Pixie Hollow electronica. So if you're into that kind of thing, you might really like this. This one has been on repeat a lot for me. Next, I'm gonna talk about Chelsea Wolfe. Her album She Reaches Out To. I have returned to this album a lot in the month of November, only because I'm slowly but surely biting off little pieces of Chelsea Wolfe's discography, and the cover of this one really, really intrigued me, so I decided to start here, even though I do know like a lot of her popular songs, but this record, production-wise, is immaculate. It's gorgeous. It's so well done. It kind of reminds me of Ethel Cain meets like Billie Eilish. If you're into either of those artists, I think you would really, really like this record. My favorite songs are House of Self-Undoing. That might be one of my favorite Chelsea Wolfe songs thus far. Like my favorite, like out of all of her songs. I've been repeating that one a lot. And I also love the production of Tunnel Lights. The way the end of that song, you literally feel like you're going through a tunnel when you're driving. Amazing. Great songwriting, great production, but mostly I think this is really, really well constructed and well done on Chelsea Wolfe's end. So also, speaking of artists that do inspire or are friends with Ethel Cain in some way, because Chelsea Wolfe is also friends with Ethel Cain, I'm gonna talk about Nicole Dollanganger, another artist that I'm biting off little pieces at a time of their discography. Here I'm gonna talk about Married in Mount Airy. This is one of my favorite records from Nicole Dollanganger. I think it's so gorgeous. I had a bit of a struggle getting into her at first because I think I didn't really enjoy her vocal style very much, but it's grown on me. It's definitely grown on me over time. Something about her music reminds me of American Horror Story, in some like season 1 of American Horror Story. Do you get that? I love Nymphs Finding the Head of Orpheus, might be one of my favorite songs, or Gold Satin Dreamer. Dreamy, ethereal, broken doll, kind of what's the word? It's gothic, yes, but it's what is like that doll gothic? Maroot? Is that wrong? Highly recommend that album as well. And then last but not least, my record of the year. We're gonna talk about Miss Florence and the Machine. Everybody scream, specifically the chamber version. Yes, the chamber version is elite. There is 4 deluxe tracks that are like bardcore remixed by Jules Buckley, one of my favorite like orchestra composers. He is amazing, so he does amazing work on the deluxe tracks here. Yeah, I love this, of course. I am a huge Florence and the Machine fan. I will say on first listen, I was a little taken aback by how many acoustic tracks there were, which was a little bit unique for Florence, like a unique choice, but they all grew on me over time. The only tracks that had to grow on me were Buckle and Kraken. I thought they were like okay on first listen, then I like loved every other track on first listen. But the more I listen to it, I really do think it's such a magnificently done record. She just really can do no wrong. Like, I don't really know what you want me to say. Oh, I'm seeing her live. I'm seeing her live next year here in Los Angeles in the pit. And I'm gonna fight for the barricade. I will fight you for the barricade. I'm very tiny. You won't even see me. Just let me go to the barricade in peace, please. I'm so excited to see this record live. I think it's going to absolutely blow my socks off live, just like every Florence record live is just like so much better. She somehow sounds better live, which is like really rare for an artist. The witchy vibes here are definitely turned up a lot. She said that she studied witchcraft throughout the creation of this record, and I feel like you can tell specifically on the tracks Witch Dance and Drink Deep. What are my favorite tracks, you ask? I'm so glad you asked. So my favorite track on this record, I was going back and forth for a while. It was my favorite upon first listen, and it is still my favorite, and that is Perfume and Milk. I love it so much. The storytelling, it's so relatable. I love it. I love it. I think it's definitely my most played song on this record. I also really love Drink Deep. I really love Witch Dance, and I really love The Old Religion is so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. She just really she can't do anything wrong. I'm sorry. She just has the best songwriting, best performance, vocal, immersive storytelling, freaking vibes. Love dancing to her songs so much. I will literally crazily dance around my room to every Florence record, but especially this one. Out of the chamber versions though, my favorite chamber version song is Everybody Scream. I think it's so good. It's so freaking bloody good. Yeah, my favorite English ginger. I'm really loyal to my favorite English ginger. I love her so freaking much. Like, that is all of the art that I consumed the past 2 months in October and November. Yeah, thank you so much for being patient with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please pray for my mama and leave all of your well wishes or any thoughts you have about this video or really anything. Leave it down in the comments below for me to peruse and look through. I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys the next time. Bye.